All right, so our next conversation, we're calling it conversation for those who are just joining us because we want it to be very easy, very nice, very informative, like you're having a conversation with your really good friend. So it's not an interview, it's not someone coming to take over and talk at you. We'd love you to participate as well, so ask questions. In fact, this session, we're going to go straight to the questions first, all right, and then building up from there. So this conversation is titled Talking Money, Understanding Your Numbers to Capital. All right, so understanding your numbers to access capital. And of course, we have very amazing people who will be speaking on this subject, who will be having this conversation with us this morning. First, of the two people that we'll have sitting on this chairs this afternoon, we have Adenike Adeyemi, who serves as the Chief Executive Officer, Faith Foundation, Nigeria's foremost non-profit organization focused on enabling aspiring and emerging Nigerian entrepreneurs start, grow, and scale their businesses. She's a development sector professional with over 17 years of experience in non-profit management, enterprise development, education, and youth enablement strategies. Let me jump real quickly so we can continue. Adenike has a master's in public administration and a master's in arts in diplomacy and international relations from Seton Hall University, New Jersey, USA, and a Bachelor of Arts in linguistics from the University of Ibadan. A round of applause for Adenike Adeyemi. Thank you so much for coming. All right, we also got on this panel real quickly. We have Olutosin Oni, is a principal investment and portfolio management at EchoVC Partners. Prior to joining EchoVC, Tosin co-founded a number of startups, including a boutique financial advisory firm in which he helped develop strategy and advised clients, and a securities trading platform. He was previously head structures product at FBN Capital Limited, a role in which he managed the launch of the structuring desk and led the development of the desk risk management and performance management fireworks. While at FBN Capital, Tosin set up the firm's structured products vehicle through which the company managed over 100 billion naira in assets. He also led the setup of FBN Capital's market making desk. Woo! Wow, we have such amazing people sitting here with me today. So please, a round of applause for them, ladies and gentlemen. We're so lucky to have them. Thank you so much once again for coming. We're starting this conversation with questions from the audience. We want to build up from there. So let's hear if there's anybody who, like I said, we're talking money. So if you're wondering about accessing capital, wondering about where to start, wondering about money generally, I think that's what we're going to be talking about for the next 1 hour. So who wants to go first? Okay, I knew people would be shy. Nobody wants to bail the cat. So it's okay, I guess I will have to do so. But I guess, pardon? Nobody needs money. Nobody needs money here. I doubt that. I think they're just shy as opposed to not needing money. But generally, let's start from there. Needing money, being a creative, being a designer. Where does one start from? I guess a lot of people would like to know.
Good afternoon, everyone. I always find the creative space a very unique space because there's a mix of talent, of skill, a lot of times innate in developing a product or service, because we also have some services here that people sell. What always happens a lot of times, particularly in that kind of environment, is that oftentimes the entrepreneur probably may wrongly target their customer segment. So we'll be selling a product where people are underpricing. Meanwhile, you've taken time to develop this fine leather product, leather shoe, leather accessory, and the customer may, in most times, not appreciate the time. In fact, first of all, even sourcing the leather fabric, making it, everything that went into putting together that beautiful piece of product. And so the first thing one always has to think is that, how do I get that journey? How do I, in knowing the numbers, as the session is titled, am I, first of all, even targeting the market for my business? Do I have to look into another market that probably will pay the price? Or do I have to expand, differentiate my product to be able to meet the market that is close to me? So it's important to, first of all, start off with really, really understanding who am I targeting, who will value the type of product I'm putting together and I'm selling, where can I find them, how can I get my product to reach them, and then going further along around how do I now start to price the product. So I'll just start with that first.
Okay. Is it on?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think it's on.
Hello. Okay. Hello guys. So it's a very interesting place to start the conversation. I like where Nike has jumped off about understanding your market, understanding where you're selling and who you're selling to and things like that. I come at it from the other side, and the other side being. Oh, you can't hear me. My apologies. Okay. So I come at it from the other side, and I say the other side being the numbers. Specifically, understanding every aspect of what you're doing, what you're making, what you're selling. From the sourcing of whatever it is that you need as an input, there's a cost there. The actual input, you have to buy it. You then have to, in some ways, transform it. That transforming process is often multi-step. You'll need maybe different peoples, maybe someone needs to dye it, maybe you need to buy other bits of equipment or inputs as part of that transformation process until you get a final product. Now, when you have a final product, that's not the end of where you spend money. In some ways, you have to go out there and market it. You have to do legwork. Maybe in some ways a bit of what Nika has said about where do you sell and things like that. But every step of that process, every step of that chain, there's a naira amount associated with it. There's an expense, a cost, even if it is your own time, right? If it takes you 2 days to do something, and you have to price your own time. So every single thing, from staples to dyeing, whatever, you have to price it. Pricing is, and ultimately get to the place where you say, for this item, whether it is a satchel or a wallet, this item actually costs me 100 naira to make. Yes, if I make 1,000 of them, it will cost me 60 naira each. If I make only one, maybe it will cost me 200 naira each. The relationship between...
Sorry, excuse me. The music is too loud out there. Please, can you ask them? Thank you. Apologize.
That relationship between all the different things that go in, plus how much you're making, i.e. how many units, and every place or activity where you expend yourself or expend capital, you put it all together and say, this is what it costs. It's at that stage you can now say, who can afford this? Where should I be selling this? So if it is like I said, a satchel, and you get to the end of it and it costs you 10,000 naira to make. 10,000 naira is not, but therefore for someone, 10,000 naira for a satchel is a great price. The next step is now finding that person. So in terms of understanding the numbers, understanding the business, that's where I like to come at things.
All right, fantastic. So do we have anyone who would like to waiting? Where's our mic? The roaming mic? Okay. The mic, is the mic there? Okay, great. So the mic is there. If you'd like to wait in real quickly from where they've sort of stopped for now. So just identify by raising your hands. We're talking about money. I know everyone here needs money, wants money. So they've talked about some of the areas of sort of specialty kind of. So you want to ask, we've got someone there. All right, please introduce yourself and then tell us. Like I said, it's a conversation. So let's waiting.
Hello, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Emmanuel Ogba. Okay, my question is, how can you change the status quo if you discover that you're targeting a wrong audience?
Okay. Who's taking that?
That, the easy thing is that is the business, for lack of a better word. I say that is the business because if it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. I think is a place to start. If it was, I start doing this, I'm targeting the wrong customer, I change it, I do this until I find the right one, and it was easy, everyone would do it. So the first thing to acknowledge is that changing the status quo, i.e. repositioning your product, your brand. So do you need to aim your product at a different kind of customer? Maybe. Do you need to reduce the cost, the actual cost of making the good? Maybe. Do you need to make more so that the per unit price cost comes down? Maybe. Of course, every single one of those options has an impact on everything else. So if you're repositioning it, so if before it was maybe you're positioning it for students and you need to be positioning it for office people, you now need to think, okay, where do I find office people? How much are they able to, what are they looking for? If it's that I need to make more so that the per unit cost comes down, okay, if I make more and it comes down, what do I sell it for? To whom? Is it the student again, or is it the office person, or is it someone in the middle? If I'm reducing the cost, the input, maybe you can do that. So instead of sourcing your leather from Italy, you need to find someone in Kano who's making a, whatever it is, right? So that, but in that, I wish I was a creative. I'm not. That is the business.
Thank you.
I'll also add to that. I'll also add to Tosin's comment by saying that that's a very good question, and that's an important question to ask. But then there are follow-on questions again. Why do you think that target market is the wrong market? The questions you need to ask, do they have the ability to pay, but they're not willing to pay? So things also around targeting customers, ability to pay, willingness to pay. Do they like your product, but are not at the point where they can afford to buy it? But they can afford to buy, but they don't like the product. So we're talking about issues around design, packaging, and all of that. So you need to drill down a bit to, not even a bit, significantly more to find out why you think it's the wrong target. Product, pricing, and then once you now find out, you now want to now make that business model decision to say, based on where my business is now, which of the target, do I want to now focus and satisfy this market that does not like my product because I see them as a viable market, or do I now want to look for a market elsewhere that meets my product needs, would appreciate the product, will be able to pay the product, and when I do all the calculations that Tosin talks about, it will be profitable for me eventually.
Right. So. Okay, does that answer your question? Or I know there are lots of young people here. Does anybody want to know, I mean, we're talking about pricing here. Does anybody want to know how you even access, let's say, capital to even get your business to a certain level where you can even get it to people? I don't know if that's something you can speak on. So a lot of people are very awkward about loans or things like that. So perhaps some advice when it comes to taking loans and stuff like that, especially for expanding one's business.
Okay, so he's a money man, but I'll speak before him. I think the good thing now is that there are lots of funding opportunities available. I know it's not enough as it should be, I agree, but there's significantly more now available than if you look in the last 2 to 3 years. And then we're even now saying things that maybe from the government or development sector partners or international partners saying, we find opportunities in the leather space, in the creative space, in the art space, let's do loans, grants, and all of that. So there's a bit of funding, and particularly if you're also female, or you're also young, or less than 35, there are significantly opportunities that are coming up. The problem that we see is that people wait for that money to come up before knowing what they need. And then they now build a business to get that money. Oh, so CBN has 2 million, a 20 billion whatever loan. You can get up to 2 million. And then you just build a business for that 2 million. And that's the wrong place to start from. It's not when the money becomes available that you should know how much you should need. So there's really a lot more work in terms of understanding this business. And it also differs depending on the stage that you're in. If you're just starting the business, there's a lot of things around. So we're speaking a lot around the businesses that are here. I'm starting a business, I'm making a leather service or leather products and materials. You're looking into the cost of where do I source my materials from, what's going to cost me to develop a startup capital, do I need machinery, do I need people, what is the actual cost for me to get this business and run for 6 to 12 or 18 months at a minimum. And then when I look at that, I now say, okay, am I going to start selling immediately, or it will take me about 6 months to get the business off the ground, to start getting people to buy, so I can start to get revenue. So you want to get a sense of how much money when is money going to start coming in, if at all. And then, not if at all, when is money going to start coming in eventually? And then when you now get a sense of that, you are now able to say, okay, up until the time when revenue starts to come in, to the point that it can run my business, how much funding do I now need for working capital to be able to pay my rent, to be able to pay the team, to be able to test this leather products, pay whoever, come and exhibit here, for instance, as market showcase and all of that. And once you now get that figure, you now look and say, which one can I accommodate? If it's a loan, and people don't drill questions down. So even when it's a loan, people are much more quick to go to the loan. But there are implications. What's the interest rate? When am I going to be required to pay back that money? If I'm going to be required to pay that money in 6 months, how much will I pay from 6, 7, 8, 9 months? And will I be able to generate enough revenue to be paying off that interest? So if it's a grant, obviously it's a bit easier because you're not required to pay back on it. But if you're getting a grant, you want to make sure that it's really building the fundamentals of the business. So I think for me, it's that don't wait until the money opportunities come. Sit down, do the numbers, record, have a plan, get a sense of your view of the numbers, 6 to 24 months. You want to get a sense of what am I expecting to come in, what am I expecting to go out. And then from that, you can now start to explore the funding opportunities that is available and which one will be best suitable for your needs. So that you don't get to a situation where you get a loan, and then 6, 7 months' time, everything you're doing is to pay back that loan.
Wow, very aptly said. Very well said. All right, so Adenike calls you the money man.
No, you know what? I think she's answered that question really well. Debt capital or loans are a tricky business. I'll be the first to say that. As I say tricky because you really need to understand what you're trying to use the debt to do. So another word for debt is leverage. If you look at what the word means, leverage, for you to lever something up, you already have something there, right? If there's nothing there, leverage 100% or 100 times 0 is 0, right? So if there is no fundamental business, leverage is not going to take you anywhere. Leverage, you will stay in the same spot. In fact, leverage will become a liability. I think that is important to say. The other place, generally, so in my day job, when we evaluate businesses, the expectation generally, and this is not specific to tech companies that I particularly look at, in general, is that when you're starting out a business, you are generally looking for money from FFF. Friends, family, fools, i.e. dumb money. So, now, fools, you can make that general. So that fools may be grant, someone who says, you know what, I don't care what's happening, but I want to get this particular sector going. I want to invest, I want to expend something in here, right? Friends, family, or your own pocket, or whatever. It is not easy. I don't dispute that. But generally, it helps to start in some ways so that you understand what the drivers of the business are. We said earlier about, who are you selling to, how much does it cost you to make, what is the sale process like? On average, if you make something today, How long does it take you to sell? Things like that. If you don't understand that in your business, it will be hard to get a loan, because whoever is giving you a loan will say, here is this loan, here's the interest, pay it back in whatever period, right? How do you know that you can not just service the loan, pay it back? How do you know if you haven't, in some ways, started the business a little? You wouldn't. I can sit here and write I love leather shoes, a leather shoe business, and write a sweet-looking business plan, and go to someone and say, give me $200 million for a loan. And like, that's a big, I'm going to make this thing, we're going to make it in Lagos, we're going to sell globally, we'll sell in Australia, we'll sell in the US. I haven't done it before. I can write it. But until I know what it takes to get that leather, like I said, find the product, design it, transform it into the end product, sell it, find the person you're selling it to, sell it, and often if you're selling to another business, the business may not pay you immediately. Sell it, get them to pay you, and all of that. Until you understand that process, a loan is a hard thing to do, because you can't off the bat say, this is how. Whoever wants to give you the loan, this is how I will pay that loan.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
I think that the mistake that a lot of other, particularly small businesses or SMEs make, is you also don't, because Tosin talks about getting money from friends, family, foes. But a lot of the initial investment comes from you yourselves as the entrepreneur. But we don't document this. So you eventually go and meet somebody to loan you money, but you know somehow that you've spent like 10 million into this business in the last 5 years, but there's no proof of that. What doesn't get documented, does not get measured, does not get understood. So even if you're showing somebody that in the last 2 years, you know, whether it's transportation, whether it's what I paid 10K, 20K to somebody to dye this leather, to put it together, start to document. It doesn't have to be techie. Get a notebook, higher education, Excel for those who have laptops. Every month, how much did every shoe, every bag that I sold, write it down. Everything that I paid money for, no matter how little, put it down. I also encourage people to register their businesses and set up a business account. So, and that even if I'm taking 50, so I set up Adenike Adeyemi Leather Company. And I know every month, maybe I'm already working in Faith Foundation and I'm setting up this leather business. So from my salary every month, I put like 50K into the business. I open that Adenike Adeyemi company and be sending 50K from Adenike Adeyemi personal account to Adenike Adeyemi and company, and then paying all the business expenses from that account so that there is a trail. You know, last week I sat down with one of my friends who is running a business in another space, and she didn't even realize how much had come into the business. But because we had done a practice of, okay, just sit down on the Excel sheet, just every day, anything you spend on this, your business, just document it and put it down. You would also get an appreciation. So when you're even meeting somebody for a loan or for funding, you're saying, as my own self, I have invested so much in the business, so that even when you're making decisions around how well is this business doing, how well is it not, it's not emotional when it comes to numbers. It's factual. You're seeing the figures. It is there, and you can tell a story. The numbers tell a story for you. They give you information. They make you more excited, or the other way. But it allows you to make decisions that you need to make for the business. So documentation, setting up a business account, separating your personal accounts from your business accounts is really, really, really important.
Fantastic. So well said. I mean, just to say, like she said, we need to take ourselves seriously as creatives. The little efforts and the little contributions you make are just as valid. So document. All right, so do we have any questions? Okay, we've got someone here. Can we bring the mic to the front? All right.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon. My question goes
What's your name?
My name is Emmanuel Joseph. My question goes to Mr. Olutosin Oni. You were talking about pricing, the cost of production, and all of that. And he asked a question about how to change the status quo. Okay, my question goes thus. At what point in your business do you compromise your price to satisfy the consumers? Let's say I start at an initial price, but because I'm targeting a particular number of customers and I know probably the price is not really favorable for them, and I need to adjust the price just to get more customers. At what point do I compromise in terms of my pricing just to satisfy the customers?
Compromise is a strong word. It's a word I wouldn't use. The reason why I say that is that business, the world over, in the history of the world, has always been about discovering the unknown. I.e., for a particular customer, what will he pay for a particular product or service? That is business 101. How do you find that? That process does not drop from the sky. Some people are inspired. Some people have a good sense of this thing. That based on, someone is spending 200 naira every day on just gala, it means, he can spend 50 naira on this other product, right? But from the get, especially where the product is relatively new or unexplored, no one knows. No one knows. Someone will say, no, it should be this. Someone will say, no, it should be this. But I think what is important is understanding what does it cost you to make. If you do not know that, when you are exploring how I should price this, how I should position it, should I price it at 10,000 naira, aim it for Ikoyi? Should I price it at 5,000 naira, aim it at Ugudu? Should I price it at 1K, aim it at wherever? You want to make sure that wherever that price settles, it is not less than what it costs you to make. I think that is fundamental, because where you earn less than it costs you, that is a businessman's ruin. Some businesses have a strategy to lure you in, and they'll make a loss for a while, and then they'll increase the price. You have to decide, can your pocket withstand that? Is your product the kind that, is your product the kind that people, once they taste this thing, they're going to want it, right? If it is, then maybe. But generally, again, even if you're going to do that as a strategy, you need to know what it costs you to make. And the thing about what it costs you to make, it evolves over time. Unfortunately, inflation, even your own value of your own time, right? This year, you're making 30 million naira as your own salary. Next year, you're like, I want to move up. So the cost per unit that you make also changes. So that understanding your cost, it evolves over time. And it may go down. Something may happen in the market. Leather may become cheap and it goes down, and all of a sudden, but that is an important place to start. Now, in terms of how you compromise, again, it depends on, there's so many factors. It's how long can you last not selling one thing? Because you make something, you're trying to sell it. It's costing you money because you need to last, you need to feed, right? Maybe you need to store it. There's a storage cost, maybe whatever, right? So you need to also understand, this is all part of understanding the cost, so that at some point, it may be, as it happens, again, it's not just in this space, in the creatives, with corn. In Nigeria today, someone farms corn, he brings it to market. The people who are buying it know that this guy doesn't have money to take it back home. So they'll wait for him until the end of the day. When the sun is coming down, they're like, okay, drop the price. because he can't take this corn home. Otherwise, it's the same thing. You have to understand how long you can stay out. How long can you weather the struggle? And some people, it's from day one. They're tweaking it. So you have the product. You meet someone and say, it's 10K. You judge his reaction. To the next guy, you tell him it's 5K. You judge his reaction. Because no one knows what this thing should cost, because it is a combination of all the creative juices that you put into it, in terms of the design, in terms of how it looks, in terms of how it makes people feel, especially with creative things, right? How do you put a number on that? It makes me feel like a boss. People will pay money for that. Or no, this is my bedroom slippers. People will pay money for it, but what they will pay for that and what for the other are different.
Yeah.
That is the business.
Sorry, talking about compromise, would you advise, for example, if I can't find the people who can buy my product, maybe bringing down the products I use, perhaps using cheaper products? Would you, Adenike, would you advise?
So again, it's about knowing the customer. Sometimes we sell baguette to the person that is fine with agege bread. So think of that analogy. And that's what it is. What does the customer appreciate? Now, I think this is really a perfect audience to speak with. The detail that we go into developing our products and our designs, we almost want to do that approach in understanding behaviors and patterns and customers. I don't think that a lot of Nigerian businesses spend as much time to understand what moves a customer. What is it, particularly, and not just even a customer, the customer types that buy from you the most. So somebody is buying from you a lot. It's not just, oh, praise God, thank God. Why? Why is that person buying? Is it convenience for the person? Is it the use and the effect that, is it that they can't find this thing elsewhere? Or is it that they just like this? What exactly is moving the customer to buy? If it's a use thing, so it's just a utility thing, and the customer is not particular about maybe quality of certain things, you can do that. But again, how does that affect or impact the customer behavior? Sometimes we sell very high or expensive things for people, and they're fine with certain things. But you have to test it. Again, it's not an assumption. You have to test it. You have to try it. With some markets, you can't do that. So if we even look at the different types of goods that we have here, there are different segments. There are people that their prices are within 40, 50 up. And there are probably some customers that once you bring down that number to a certain, they won't buy it. Right. But there are some people, maybe students, working professionals, younger people, they are fine with certain ranges of prices. And so what matters to them is different. So for the person that has a higher appreciation, maybe because there's a durability, I want to keep this thing and I want to use it for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So quality is very important to me. I am buying this leather material as an investment and I want to be able to have it for years. So that's important. But if it's just, oh, let me just have it, let me just use it, then I'll give it away. So again, it's also to look at monitor trends. I don't even think that we ask our customers a lot. The right question. So we take a lot from emotion. So I like it, it's lovely. What is lovely about it? What do you like about it? What do you wish changed about it? What are the issues that you are having with it? Are there other comparable products you would buy? Why would you buy that? Is it because it's accessible to you? So those things will now let you know what your customers like, what they don't like, and now allow you to tweak things in a certain way. So if you now realize that you cannot change the quality of the leather, you are now have to look and say, okay, how do I source this leather in a cheaper rate than I am sourcing it now? How do I become much more innovative and creative about where I'm getting it from? Do I need to create like some sort of arrangement or partnership with the person I'm sourcing the leather from, because I can guarantee that every month, every quarter, I'm buying this stock of leather, so I'm a ready market to that person. But don't just make that decision without knowing what the cost implications are, and how will it impact your customer behaviors.
Okay, fantastic. We've got a question here. All right.
Sorry, my name is Tokumo Ige. I just wanted to find out from you, because I'm not sure we're asking the question, or maybe what do you think? Because the gentleman asked a question earlier on, and I've been pondering about it. Now, as an entrepreneur, do you start with what does my customer want? Or you start with what need am I trying to meet? And that, I think, in this kind of a setup, in this kind of affair, I think there's something beyond just shoes and bags that is the message here. The message is that, for me, things of quality can be made in Nigeria. So it wouldn't matter whether it's a key holder, a high-heeled pair of shoes, or a bag. We're using what we have to respond to needs generally. Now, the question our brother asked, for me, I've been turning it around in my head and I've been saying, well, if you didn't ask the question originally, what need, what problem am I trying to respond to? It's very easy for you to be frying fish today and then be baking cakes tomorrow. But if you decide that what I really want to do is to help people live healthy, you will stick with gluten-free bread, and you won't care about agege bread, even if it's cheaper. So I think there's that part of it also that needs to go into the thinking, so that your passion, so that, you know, what keeps you going is also part of the discussions before we even look at the cost, the money, and so on. So that's what I just thought to add.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We've got someone here up front. Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ahmed, and I really appreciate everything you guys have, said today, from the reception and the record keeping and all that. And I realize that a lot of Nigerian businesses do not keep record, and so when you don't have record, you really don't know what you're doing. That's the truth. So for me, I've gotten to a point where I have my records. I keep every data. So I can tell you, I can forecast for next year. I can tell you that this month, I don't really sell in September because a lot of people are paying school fees, and those are my customers. So I forecast for every month. And since the beginning of this year, my forecast has been right. So I can forecast for next year. I know when to spend money on ads. I know when not to spend money on ads. I have an idea when to release new designs and when not to. I have an idea how many women buy from me. I know how many women buy, as gifts for their husbands. I have details of all these things, so it helps me forecast a lot. So where I come is, I want to scale up. You get? That's my own challenge. I want to scale up, and I realize for me to scale up, I need to put funding in some certain, aspects of the business, but I don't have the funds, and so how do I actually assess that funds? I'm not looking at loans, basically. I'm not looking at loans. How do I assess proper funding to scale up? That's my question.
Thank you, Ahmed. Okay. Who wants to go? No. Okay, you don't want to answer that or say something about this.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Grace Essien. My question today is, how do I pitch to a potential investor concerning loan? What part of the numbers are the potential investors looking for? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think we should, so we don't have a backlog of... Okay.
I thought the first question, the comment by, I think she's left. Okay, she's here. Yes. That was a very sound comment that you made, and it's very, very important to note. So, need versus the product that we're creating. What exactly is this? What is the approach that we're looking to develop this business? And what is the need that we're looking to serve? For me, I will take it on further than that, because even when you find that need, and I also agree that it's very, very important to ensure that we have quality products out there in the market that's available. But there are also different grades of quality. There are different standards of quality. If we look at cars, Toyota is, do you understand, there are certain levels to Toyota, and then you look at some other higher end cars and value. So even with quality, each customer segment has a different appreciation of quality level. What is important from a policy and regulatory environment is that there are good level basic standard quality that's available to all. And then the value addition to the product and the services now determine how high the pricing point for each of the products and services. So even if you get good quality leather, the process that somebody will take that product, that initial input product to, will determine how much, because of the additional value, every other thing that you'll add may now impact and increase the pricing that would add to it. But even when one says, okay, this is the need I'm solving, am I solving an aesthetic need? Am I solving a status need? Am I solving a need for people that want long-term things that will last durable? Is it something that will be able to work within our weather and humidity conditions and all of that? After you find that, you still have to now have a sense of how wide is this market that has that need. And that's where the business model is going to make sense at the end of the day. So yes, it's important to say what need am I solving, but who am I solving it for? And how large is this population that needs that problem solved? And then how able are they to pay for the cost and more for everything that will get it to that point that I need it to be. So that's how I would respond to that comment. Now, your question on scaling, I think it's a very good stage that you're in. But for me, thinking of scaling is different things. It's thinking around, can the business run well without you? How evolved? What business are you doing? What do you do? You make shoes. So are you the person, are you still directly involved in the making of the shoes, or you have, fantastic. Yes, the business runs on its own. So you now want to scale, you want to have more, be able to produce more volumes, probably put some sort of mechanization, automation into the process, and all of that. I think the first thing is to get a sense of where you want to grow to, and what will it cost you to get there. What are the kind of machines you need? Are they available? And all of that. I think Tosin probably should speak on the kind of funding. He said he doesn't want debt, so the type of funding opportunities that are available for you. But one of the things I will have to say is also that even when you're thinking around expanding your operations, to be able to sustain scale, it's also said that is this, even though it runs without me, one can run without me? Can 2 locations run without me? Can 3 locations run without me? Have I built a structure in my model where almost to the process of, I'm very big on documentation, where there's a standard around the thing. The shoe that you're making, is there a template or guide to produce this shoe that anybody can join your firm today and can produce it straight off, because there's the, I'm not the templates, we're not using the right terms to be able to do that. So first, put standardization in your process so that it's not just because Adenike is there, Tosin is there, Tosin has always been the operations manager, Nika is the marketing person, and then if those 2 people leave, the business is in comatose. So the test of your business is that if 2 or 3 people leave, if the major people leave, the business will still run. So it's not dependent on certain people, but that there are processes and standards that are in place that people can just take up and know how to produce they know the standard. There's a documentation of this is the standard of leather quality we're looking to buy. This is the process to put it together. This is how we sell it and all of that. And then it's a bit easier to get the money. Not that a bit easier. You now understand what it needs to expand and build and sort of accelerate that business.
Fundraising generally is hard, right? I think it's good, like Nika said, you have a very good understanding of where your business is. The question she asks about what does scale-up mean, I think is a good place to start. So for example, does scale-up mean that you're producing more items from the existing facility. In other words, you have a certain process, you have certain people, and they're making, let's say, 20 shoes a day. But you want to go from making 20 shoes a day to making 100 shoes a day. And the existing system can do that. So in that situation, your challenge may actually be that you need more input. So you need to have more, you'll excuse me, I'm a layperson here, I don't know what the inputs are. So it may mean that, instead of having one truck of leather on standby, you need 10 trucks of leather on standby, so that your team, instead of working 3 hours a day making shoes, they go to 6 hours a day making shoes. That's one. It literally could be you just want more throughput. It could be that you need to add equipment, and you actually need to buy whatever it is that you use, which is heavy. I draw the distinction with those two because in those situations, what you need, from a funding perspective, what you need is probably different. So for example, because you understand how you're selling, when you're selling, how people are buying, and you can demonstrate your ability to forecast and the regularity of your business, to tell someone, I'm making 20 shoes now, but people want more. I can't do that. Why? Because I don't have enough input. That one is more a working capital issue, because you just need to have more input sitting around so that your employees or your process runs more regularly. That's one. If you need to put down, a press, a big sewing thing, or something to dye, which is more fixed assets, the way you fund that will be very different. Am I making sense? I think that's so in addition to understanding what scale up means, you also need to be clear what part of the business needs to scale, i.e. how the scaling happens. So if you may find that it is initially, you just need to be able to show, to grow throughput, in which case the first stage of scaling up will be actually to look for working capital, so that you're making, instead of 20, like I said, you're making 50. You confirm that, then now say, okay, I want to go from 50 to 100, but this time I need 2 locations. In the second week, or 2 lines. And for that, I need this kind of equipment, this kind of, again, the funding is, now in terms of so for working capital, the natural place should be your bank. Your bank that has seen, and it goes to Nike's point about having a bank account. They've seen what happens. Money come in, money go out. Money come in, money go out. Now, that being said, where we are, we're in Nigeria, and banks are very risk averse. So if funding is hard globally, and believe me, funding is hard globally, in Nigeria, it is doubly hard. But I think the bank that you bank with is a natural place, because they're seeing money come in, money go out, money come in, money go out. So you can say, you know what, you want 100 million naira. Many times, what we found is that many people you give me X or bust. And for some businesses, so for example, if you need to buy a sewing machine, a press or whatever, and the whole thing costs 100 million naira, someone telling you, come and borrow 5 million naira, that doesn't work for you. However, for working capital, yes, you like to go from making 20 shoes to 50 shoes. And for that, you need 20 million naira, so you're buying leather and all the inputs. And someone says, I can only lend you 1 million naira. Sometimes it pays, because you start out small, take that and prove that you can actually not only service it, pay it down. It may not make that big an impact on your business. It may mean that you go from making 20 shoes to 21 shoes, but track record, particularly with financial institutions here, it's very important. When you start showing track, is your bank that will come back to you and say, okay, can we upsize that loan? Time and time again, we've seen that. Fixed asset funding is much harder. The natural place are things like, especially for creatives, guys like BOI, these things take a while. They take a while. And often it's less about the business or the quality of your business and more about your understanding of the process to raise, unfortunately. And this is not about who you know. This is more about engaging people, like who raised from BOI. How did you do it? What did you do? Who did you talk to? How did you put your application together? When did you do it? What is their cycle? You may find that they only give certain kinds of loans at certain times of the year. What is their process for reviewing, for approval? Sometimes BOI works with consultants. What kind of consultant did this person use? So part of that process is actually engaging with the process and finding out who has raised. Maybe not necessarily in leather, but generally in someone making stuff. Who has raised? How did they raise? Where did they raise? Was it a particular bank? Was it a particular... And with banks, it's even a branch. And even in a branch, is a particular person. Who helped you? Let me sit with him and explain my business and demonstrate that I understand the business. Unfortunately, there are no guarantees in the world. So you can go through all of that and still struggle. But what I've found, not necessarily in the leather space, is that those are some of the things that the people who go the furthest do. There's also a large amount of figuring out, engaging. You know, I re-engaged with Faith Foundation in the last few months. And one of the things that they do, and they are inundated, so I'm not trying to drive business their way, they are inundated. But the thing about Faith is that they are plugged in the broadest, in Nigeria. So they see enough, there are enough people on their board who are experienced, who see where things are happening. So in terms of the creative, like CBN just said, they're doing some creative loan. Which banks are lending? Some banks are participating, some banks are not. Some banks say they are participating, but they're not really. These guys, no. So maybe not Nike. Nike may not give you hand contacts, but Nike's team, again, engage with the process. Find someone in BOI. And I think it's maybe in some ways something that is underappreciated from events like this. People come here to come and let me show them what I have done. I have a fantastic product. But part of it also is, what else are other people doing? What challenges are they facing? How are they solving their challenges? Who's helping them with it? And many of these things, BOI also has a stand. Some banks have stands. It's about engaging with them. Yeah, they'll say they have a loan. You know, they'll say they want a loan. They first give you an account opening form. But it's like, engage with them. When was the last loan you gave? Who did you give the loan to? What was that process like? That's part of the value of events like this. It's about engaging not just with your customer, but also the ecosystem that you operate in. The lady who asked about what investors are looking for, if I knew, I'd be a very rich man. Because, and many times, the first step is actually understanding the investor. So there's some investors that are in it for ego, finish. Is that I'm chairman of the board of this leather company. For some people, that is it. Some people are like, my sister, let me just help this one. Some people are like, I want to make money. Show me how I can make money. Now, those people are coming at it differently. If you approach those guys, those three people, with the same thing, it will resonate very differently. The person who's in it for ego, you can literally just tell him anything. I just say, I'm looking for a chairman of the board. Someone who's looking to make money, you want to show him the numbers. You want to demonstrate your passion. someone who's looking, that's the first, that is an important part of it. Again, about engaging with the process. So you need to know who you are talking to. What is he looking for, really? But beyond that, in terms of your business, there's a significant, I think, and this is all very personal opinions. I am not an expert, guys. I am not an expert. I don't own a leather business. I haven't done this successfully. But one of the things that we've seen that worked in general is a self-awareness about you and about your business. What do you understand about your business? What don't you understand about it? What are the questions you still need to answer about your business? So some of the questions are, why is this person buying this thing? You may not know, and it's okay not to know, right? You may not want to tell your investor that, depending on the kind of investor, but it's you understanding what you know, what you don't know. And also about yourself, why you're doing this. It may be that, you know what, you're passionate about this. It may be that this is the only thing this is what I find my hands to do now. They're both very valid, but when you understand that, when you engage with the process, it makes it better. The final part is that understanding of your business. Again, it's part of the reason I started from the numbers. It's not just about the numbers of your business, it's about what's happening in leather in general in Nigeria. What's happening women's shoes, leather in Nigeria. Sometimes you may even have to drill down. What's happening women's shoes in Obalindi? Why are they selling? Why are they not selling? What is selling? What designs are not selling? Where else are people selling? It's that understanding about not just your business, about the market you're selling into. Because if you can't demonstrate that to someone like me, or who's a layperson, or someone who's now imagine you're trying to pitch Ahmed for an investment. You'll be telling him one thing, and he'll be like, sister, I'm also in this business, and what you're saying is not making sense. So you also need to know, and sometimes, the nature of our market is that it's so big and everyone's so focused on a little bit. It's for you to also be able to say, look, I understand this thing. This is why, yes, it may work like this here. This is why. So all of that just comes down to you being able to show that you understand what you're doing, what you're trying to do, and what you don't understand. It's also very important.
A round of applause for them, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, even I have learned so much, and I know that, that goes without saying. Unfortunately, that's where we have to wrap it up on this conversation. I want to say a big thank you to Olutosin Oni, Principal Investments, EchoVC Partners, and Adenike Adeyemi, Executive Director, Faith Foundation. You guys have been wonderful. Thank you so much. Another round of applause for them.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.